All my shit's fucked up. Oh, oh, I see what's going on here. My power went off, so I have to reset my Rodecaster. Bam, we're live. Kinda. We're kind of live.
You sound echoey. I don't think you're on the right mic either.
Yeah, we're limping. How's that better? Testing one.
There
Two.
you go.
I wonder if I have the right camera.
You do. It looks good.
Like there's shallow depth of field. So last night the power went out. I heard the transformer. I guess that's a transformer. Is that what the gray box is that hangs on the telephone pole?
Yeah, sure.
Let me see. I'm gonna look up picture. I'm gonna look up. What is this? I'm gonna look up transformer. Make sure pole transformer. Pole transformer. It took me to a penis pump. No, a pole transformer. Yeah. It's one of those gray things. Here it comes. Here comes the sexist comment. For all the women in the audience, let me post a picture for you. Oh, here we go. Caleb got it. It's that thing, that cylindrical thing. I think one of those exploded. I heard this huge explosion right outside my house, and then the power went out. We had 4 or 5. We had a family. We had these family friends over, husband, wife, 2 kids, and we had invited 13 other people to the house, and not one of them made it to the house. That's how good the storm was. I mean, I don't live in Buffalo, you know. For God, did you party, Souza?
No, why?
Oh,
I was just trying.
No reason.
You think I look bad?
No.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
No. Yeah, but they couldn't make it to the house. All the streets were flooded. You know, there's this website you could go to if you just go to PG&E, Caleb. And then if you pull it up, I'll show you what to click. And then you can, PG&E is Pacific Gas and Electric. It's the people who keep all our shit going. And I think they've been in a bunch of trouble, right, Souza, for the last 10 years? Like there was a whole town burnt down.
Yeah, it was that big-ass explosion, right?
Yeah, like a whole town burnt down and people were suing them and blaming them. And so it was during a storm or something. So what they did is they're like, all right, fuck you. We'll just turn off your power if we think it gets too windy. So that's been a huge thing in California. The people were going to sue the electric company for there should be a map that pops up. Oh, go back. Let me see. Yeah, that. So that's all the places the power's out. And I live down there in the bottom left-hand side of the map where you just see SAN. That's probably Santa Cruz.
Where all of them are.
Yeah. And those are all the power outages that are still going. But it was kind of cool. They did get the power up pretty early. Wow, Aaron, thank you. Thank you.
First donation of the new year. Absolutely right.
Thank you. And you will get some free advice for that. Please add a profile picture. Matt Burns, add a profile picture.
You said that because my hair looks ridiculous right now. That's why you said that, wasn't it?
I just saw you yawning. I like your hair.
Yawning.
So 13 people didn't make it to my house because so much shit was flooded. I wonder if I type in Santa Cruz flooding, if we get images. Heavy rain slams Central and Northern California. I mean, it's not Buffalo. Like that story we told in Buffalo yesterday or 2 days ago where like 40 people died. It's not like that. I mean, it wasn't even cold last night. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. Dude, when I was driving back, it was like 12. It was like just after midnight because we basically like did the whole Happy New Year, then just left. And I was driving, and the person in front of me was going like 20 miles an hour getting on the freeway, and I'm like, well, this dude's fucked up. And then as we're driving down the freeway, a very short stretch of the freeway, there was one car crashed into the side of the freeway wall. Another car like awkwardly off to the side with its flashers on. Across the freeway, there was 2 more cars crashed into the median on the other side.
Because the water was so deep, it just lifted the car up?
Because I don't
hydroplaned,
know. I think they were fucked up. I think it's like New Year's driving back, and you just had a perfect storm of it was dark, everything was flooded. They were hydroplaning and driving like idiots.
They needed the patron saint.
Damn right. Damn right.
Can you believe this sticker?
I just want to take one quick second too, because I saw Mike Sedona was in the comments. Mike.
Oh, wow. So the story behind
Thank
that
you.
is, Susan, you were filming at Wadapalooza last year and you left it there? Or?
No. I left it in Rome when we were like
Oh,
trying to get back after all the delays. I left it
honeymoon.
in Rome on my honeymoon. Yeah, and then I did a Dear Bill and Katie, radio silence, and then Mike was nice enough he had this same one, and apparently was just chilling in his closet, so he sent it over to me, and I got it yesterday. I was at the gym. Thanks, Mike. Super appreciate it. I got your address too now. So
Oops. Sorry, Caleb. Go ahead. Sorry. You got it. Yeah, what a good dude. Hungover and a good dude. What did Audrey say last? Well, she said something in here I wanted to pull up about Alexis. What was it? So basically, last night I couldn't get on the show. Oh my God, Alexis is the greatest thing to grace this earth. Alexis is Hiller's side piece, and yesterday they were on the show together. I told him I didn't have electricity, and I asked him if he would go on. Did you give him admin too?
I had to because I could get on and sign him on, but once they got going, he couldn't end the show.
Yeah, we should have given him admin rights a long time ago. That was smooth.
Yeah, so he's all hooked up, but they did great. Alexis was awesome on it.
He called me after the show. He's like, that shit Caleb does is hard. So they came on the show. I was really proud of that thumbnail too. And
that was such a good thumbnail.
Thank you. I was at first I was going to do a theme Sevan and Hiller sitting in a tree, KISSING, and like put like me and him in a tree together, like making googly eyes. And then I came across that tug of war. I'm like, nah, I'll do this. But then it ended up being perfect. It was like foreshadowing. It was his show.
It was awesome.
So he came on, he did the show. There it is. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good.
You like the garbage truck with the Noble in the back?
The whole thing with all of them falling in and the tug of war between CrossFit and Hiller and you. Yeah. Liked it a lot.
Whoop.
I do think, you know what he did announce last night? Hiller announces that he is, even though he is on TRT, he's going to enter the CrossFit Games, which I think is good. Just hopefully he makes it, to a point. I don't know. I don't know how hard it is, but if for some reason he were to make it to the semifinals, I'm guessing they would drug test him, and then he could make a video on the whole thing. Hey,
you think if they drug tested him and he popped, that CrossFit would even say anything? Like Morning Chocolate for anybody would report it.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy New Year, guys. So what'd you say, Caleb?
Like, thank you, Captain Obvious. No shitties on TRT.
Happy New Year, guys. So happy I found your podcast in 2022 and looking forward to the great 2023 season. Awesome, dude. Thank you. Beautiful family. Rich Brosda. At 7:30 this morning, Jorge Ventura will be joining us. We'll get an update from the border. For those of you who haven't been following that story, it is just chaos there. I don't know if it's always chaos there. We'll ask him, or if it's just like an ebb and flow. But the reports coming out of there now are absolutely nuts. Those numbers are massive. Like I was hearing 8,000 people a day.
Holy shit.
So that's 2.4 million people a year. If that's happening, that means it's basically 1 out of every 150 people in the United States is a migrant, an illegal migrant. I also heard yesterday in California, we'll ask him about this also, that they are going to start allowing migrants to work. I'm not sure I'm curious if there's an argument why that's a good thing, allowing illegals to work. Because on one hand, I'm like, okay, they're here, and if they want to work, just let them fucking work.
Well, I think part of the issue is the price fluctuation for work. Because if they're coming across and they're like, shit, I'll do it for $2, I don't care. Then it kind of resets the whole entire, low skill job pricing.
And you're saying it's a good thing or bad thing?
I don't know. I don't really have a comment on it. I'm just saying if you only willing to work for $10 an hour, but I'm willing to work for $2, the whole thing resets at $2 an hour.
And let's contextualize that. I heard this the other day. We have a clip, I think, somewhere in the live call-in notes. I wonder if I can find that really quick. Basically, there are 11, it would be towards the bottom, I think, Caleb, if we had it. There are 11 million job openings in the United States. And there are 7 million able-bodied people who aren't working. And I think 4 million of them are young men. I heard some stat like that. It's absolutely nuts how many people aren't aren't working.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of those like labor jobs or jobs like that, like people just can't, especially in like small businesses, like they just can't seem to find people to fill those positions.
Isn't there some sort of like habit formula where if you do something for 90 days, it becomes a habit?
I've heard that. Yeah.
And so if you were in the United States government was paying people, I was getting a shitload of money from them for way more than 90 days.
Yeah. Why would you ever do anything else?
Listen what Alan's saying here. I hate this shit. Illegals coming in and being given the right to work. While here I am with multiple degrees. I hate this shit. Illegals coming in and being given the right to work while I'm here with multiple degrees and certificates, having to renew my visa because I came in legally. Bullshit. I see what you're saying. The part that I found interesting is the people that I talk to who live near the border, and by near the border I mean within 300 miles of the border. They say it's a little scary, just because you just see people wandering around, people wandering onto your property, wandering onto your ranches. Caleb, you got a little schmutz on your in the corner of your nice.
He's saving that for later.
Like Jabba the Hutt, just use it.
My grandpa lives right there on that low Alcadones border in Yuma, Arizona. Like he lives like super close in this small like retirement community down there.
Christine Young, don't believe all the job openings. Lots of companies are not actually hiring because it's better for them to overwork the part-time people they don't pay benefits to. Yeah, I'm guessing it's the same though in where Matt lives. Everywhere in Santa Cruz, there's for hire signs.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can get a job for $20 an hour now in Santa Cruz. You just go over to Pete's Coffee. There are the public school here, the public pool here can't stay open. I'm on their mailing list and they send emails at least every week saying that they have to shut down for a day here. Or they're shutting down early because they don't have people to, I've never seen anything like this in my life. So there's shitloads of jobs here in California. Jessica Valenzuela, my hubby had to do assignments once a month on the border in Texas, and all the stories. They don't mention anything about how they're found dead in the desert from dehydration, including kids. We'll definitely get into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me make a note about that. Here's another thing that I really want to emphasize. I'm pretty sure these aren't Mexicans. I'm pretty sure it's like less than 5% are Mexicans.
Yeah.
It's like everybody else.
But, pardon me?
It's like everybody else. Everybody but Mexicans. Everybody else in the lower hemisphere.
Yeah. Jason from Canada, this is a very similar conversation to forgiving student debt. Man, reading in the morning is hard. Talking in the morning is hard.
I know, it takes a second.
I should have done voice exercises. Some people are responsible and pay for their education, and people that don't get bailed out. Same shit. There's a process, so follow it. Rich says the problem is neither side in Washington wants to fix the problem. They both want it as an issue for their bases. What about this idea that if you let all these people in across the border, that they become Democrats? That seems to be like the right's theory on it. Open the border, let 1 million people come in, and you get 1 million more Democratic votes.
Yeah, which is interesting because they're not actually citizens.
If you do go, I do need more Paper Street coffee. I have a big cup of it right here. If you go to Paper Street Coffee, I think it's 15% off if you use the code word Sevan, and you will get those beautiful little, speaking of brown people, brown beans. Jason Miller, if you're worried about them taking jobs, well, they aren't taking your job, and if they are, you need to skill up.
I don't know if I was worried about them taking our jobs. Just resetting labor costs lower than they necessarily should be.
Yeah, skill up. Well, the other guy, Jason, said in the comments said he got the skills. Oh, but his thing was that he has to keep reapplying for a visa.
Yeah, because he's doing it the right way.
That's why the liberals in Canada love immigration. Yeah, that makes total sense. And let me tell you, all the immigrants that I've known who come to Canada, their favorite thing is the supposedly free healthcare. But let me tell you, it is not free. That is a complete misnomer. It is not free. It's being paid for in two ways. The people, the healthcare is suffering, in one way it pays, and the other way, people are taxed for it. Someone's paying for it. And you're getting, and the worse the situation gets, the worse the doctors get. It's the same with our school teachers, right? I think the average school teacher only lasts 3 years. Why? Because their job is so shitty, because the system is so shitty. And so the same thing's happening with doctors and nurses and the medical care that people get.
Well, the interesting thing is, remember how Alex had said, like, why are people have to leave the country to go get different procedures and stuff done because they can't afford it here in the U.S.
Right.
Like a lot of people at that retirement home I was telling you about that my grandfather's at, like they all go to Mexico for their dental work and everything else. Because
I know some really rich people I know some really wealthy people who go to Mexico, cross the border, go south for work.
Yeah, me too.
Not
my grandpa. He's not one of them.
Ask Caleb how is free healthcare, Caleb?
Well, I'm basically providing it to myself, so it's pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So,
skill up. See, he doesn't even need that.
With Dems wanting to do away with voter ID, deeming it's racist, that allows them to vote, thus vote more votes for the left. What is the thought on that? Why
is it racist? Is what you're saying? Like, how could they?
Well, I've heard that argument. It's fucking crazy. The argument that it's racist is racist.
Yes.
Like all of these things that they do, all of them. But it doesn't seem like it's too much to ask for ID to vote.
That should what?
It doesn't seem like it's that much of an ask. Like, hey,
bro, well, you need your ID to do anything, right?
Literally.
You want to go fly on a plane, you need your ID. You want to go get money out of the bank, cash a check, you need an ID.
Yeah.
You want to buy anything where you're gonna have some sort of loan on a car or mortgage, like you need an ID.
You want to get your prostate checked, you need an ID.
Exactly.
What are we talking about here?
You don't need you want to buy weed at the dispensary, you need ID.
Need an ID.
You want to have the doctor check your prostate, put his finger in your ass, need an ID.
Oh, need an ID.
You want to buy fentanyl, don't need an ID.
No, I don't need an ID for that.
No ID. You need an ID to buy booze.
Yes.
I got these new cards from Wad Zombie. Oh, it won't.
Is that packaged?
Yeah, it's so nice. It comes with that and stands. So the stands
awesome.
are so you can go to Wad Zombie's
more valuable
account.
if it's still in the package, right? Is that how that works?
When you held that up, it had a slight glare on it. And at first, I thought this was a new supplement you were gonna try. I don't know why.
I would try a new supplement. You think Killer's gonna get that C4 sponsorship?
I don't know. He should. I think he should. But I don't know if the company's gonna go for it. Everybody's so afraid these days. They're like, well, what if he makes a video and it upsets the wrong natty or not? And
I don't think people will drink C4 regardless. Speaking of which, we got a bunch of cases of that from somebody lately. Like somebody from somewhere else brought in like cases of C4 for us. It was fantastic.
Nice.
That shit's like sniffing crank, right? It gets you just
100%.
Yeah. You've
never had it, Sevan? Have you had one?
No, but I've had I went on a little spree about a year ago. I drank Bangs for a month or two. I still have like just 2 in my refrigerator that have been in there probably for a year. And they're like a break in case of emergency. Like if your coffee machine stops working or something.
You're like out in the middle of nowhere and you can't make coffee.
Yeah.
Slam a Bang.
Dallin Pepper.
Dang, you got the stack.
Alexis Raptis. Emily Rolfe.
Nice.
I got a Brian Friend sticker. Probably throw darts at that.
Send it to Heidi.
And then he's got these like there's a Matt DeLugo sticker. There's these really realistic ones. He sent me stickers for everything. There's a Clydesdale Media. He sent me everything except the Sevan Podcast sticker.
What the hell?
I don't know. I'm putting them in 2 different piles, the good ones and the bad ones.
Nice.
There's Eat Your Heart Out one. There's this one, this Pain Cave one. Very juvenile. Very juvenile.
Very juvenile.
There's this one that you can put over your bed. Con Porter.
Yes. On your dumbbells that you set next to your bed.
There's this one I'm going to stick on the side of my penis, the fittest wizard.
So random.
And there's this one that's pretty damn good, this Pukey.
Sevan, have you ever played Cards Against Humanity? Do you know what that is?
I do know what it is. I've never played it. I don't know. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know the. Tell me.
We played it last night. It's just like it's the card version game of this show. I felt like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Tell me,
like,
how do you play? What's
so
what
there's two different
happens?
cards. There's a black card and a white card, and the black card lays
Uh-oh,
out, and it has a phrase on it, and it'll say like Sevan is the king of, and it'll have a blank, and then we all have 7 white cards that just have the most random fucking phrases on it. Everything, I mean, random phrases, and they're dark, and a lot of them are like crazy sexual, and then some of them are just like someone actor's name or like something soft. And so everybody puts down their card, and then if you're the person who read it and laid over the black card, you pick up all the white cards and you read that with the blank and the phrase, and then you pick the funniest one that's funniest to you, and then you keep the black card. If whoever won, whoever you thought was the funniest, they get to keep the black card. Person with the most black cards at the end wins.
Who reads it out loud? Is the
person who whoever his turn it is on the black card.
Okay, so delivery plays some role.
100%. You got to do it to the person, or if it's in the case of somebody who like normally wouldn't speak like that, like if we were playing with your mother, we would like put down like a raunchy card just to see if her like reaction when she picks it up, if she's like gonna read it or if she's gonna skip it or what she gonna do.
Oh, you can't.
You learn a lot about
skip it?
somebody when
You could, yeah. You could be like, some people are like, I'm not reading this one because it, whatever reason. But
disappointing.
yeah,
I went to the bank, and then it could be like, skull fuck the teller.
exactly.
Yes, exactly. This
Wow.
is the show.
Wow.
It just, you never know where it's gonna go, but it could go anywhere.
We played Classic last night too. I had a Milwaukee like utility light. I set it on low and pointed it at the ceiling, and it lit up like the living room and the kitchen with some dim light. And we played Classic. Great game. God.
Some dim light really set the mood there. You were candlelit as the power was out.
Yeah, we had candles in the bathrooms. And Jason from Canada, Danny Spiegel card is 3D according to Alexis, so you can feel that. Jeez Louise.
Oh man,
I didn't like that part of the show. I'm going to tell you. I didn't like that part of the show. I don't want to say mean shit about people. I didn't like that. Do you know what she's referring to? That part of the show? I didn't like that part of the show.
If you did it, you just have to go to Hiller's stories, and he'll give you the timestamp of exactly where to go.
Did he? Is he have? Yeah, I didn't like that part of the show.
Oh,
I didn't like that. That felt yeah, I was thinking I was wondering if I would bring up even that part of the show because even saying that I don't like saying I don't like that. Yeah, I do have great skin. I have like, my skin feels like a baby's butt. It's like all soft and shit. And
yeah, you do have nice skin.
I have nice skin.
Everybody in your family has nice skin, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, we got we're brown. We're brown people. We're like, you have to know. I don't know what I look like to you guys, but like during the whole Osama bin Laden thing, I got like that face that like gets stopped. Sevan was so desperate to change the subject that he wanted them to talk about their sex life. Yeah. Hey, she said she's on top. Every 4 times they have sex, she's on top.
Every 4 times, like this is.
Every time that she's on. Did you see the show, Caleb?
I watched a little bit of it.
She was she's on top every 3 out of every 4 times they have sex.
That's very specific.
Is that like? I asked
what the ratio was.
Now, is that by her? That's like her choice, or is that because like Hitler's just like
lazy?
Yeah,
I don't know, but I fucking love that. That's a great ratio. The only ratio better than that would be 4 out of 4. What a fucking good life he's living.
That log cabin, huh?
Pour yourself a whiskey and just sit back.
Enjoy the show.
Yeah, except he doesn't drink. I don't know. He'd pour himself a C4. God, the thought of having an energy drink while having sex sounds horrible.
Goes on the wrong pipe and you start like coughing and like.
My wife's on top too. I'm a power bottom. Yeah, that's what a great. At that point, everything's their fault. You just sit back and chill. That's her admitting she's lazy. She should be on top more. Yeah, I agree.
3 out of 4.
Okay. Let's see what we have here in the notes. Oh, 303. This is the other day we had a commenter come on the show named Kurt. He said that the show is the same shit just over and over and over, and I should stick to interviewing. This is 303, and I just wanted to say thank you, Kurt, because he says that, and that gets me thinking, is he right? And then I see this. And this is Mr. Rogers, it looks like, testifying in Congress, which is just fascinating. This is in the late 60s. Mr. Rogers tried to warn everyone in the late 1960s and again in the 1980s. Who knew that Mr. Rogers was such a right-wing fucking nut job? About an agenda on TV that isn't suitable for minors. Who knew that he cared about kids? He went as far as making a song to remind young boys and girls that their biological sex, you fucking idiot, not gender, is in fear of one day the media would give them the idea to change. Now it's right. Genders later on in life. Everyone laughed, but then this is very much a reality now. Mr. Rogers predicted this shit. This is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
I'm very much concerned, as I know you are, about what's being delivered to our children in this country.
Boys are boys from the beginning. Girls are girls right from the start. Everybody's fancy, everybody's fine, your body's fancy, and so is mine. Because sometimes children think that they might change. They might have to change after a while. And, we laugh about that now. But it's because we had that concern when we were little.
Yeah, because you're really not sure. And you thought maybe you'd become a girl or a girl would become a boy, right?
Exactly.
And it happens frequently out here.
Boys are boys from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Girls are girls right from the start. Only girls can be the mummies. Only boys can grow up and be the daddies. Yes, sir.
For a girl can be someday a lady.
That last
and
part was a little
boy
creepy.
Can be someday a man. I'm very.
He's just trying to address it in the Mr. Rogers way. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's just he knew. He already knew. He was in the Hollywood scene, right? He was in.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
and,
he might have been privy to information.
And don't get it twisted. I'm not. I don't know about all the devil worship or the drinking blood. I don't know that stuff. But that scene is full of a lot of really perverse people. Like, well, I think what happens is those people get power, and when people get power, one of the ways that they show it is their sexual appetite becomes. They become less reserved about expressing it. They feel little like they don't have to play by the rules. A lot less reserved about it. And so if you have some sort, if you're a guy, maybe you would hit on girls in a way that would be inappropriate, or just more often. If you're a girl, you might vice versa. But if you have some sort of attraction to kids, you somehow think probably you become less vulnerable to being caught. Like you think you can get away with more. That scene just breeds that. And it's a real thing there, like on every set. I picture Sevan singing to his sons like that. I rap to him. I don't. I'm more of a rapper.
Yeah. Get it right, Chris.
So thank you, Mr. Rogers. Thank you, Kurt, for reminding me that it's important to stay on the subjects that are important. 302, I tried to express this to you guys the other day, and someone sent me this on the show, and I was pretty happy to be in this company with Rumi. He said the exact same thing, but he said it a little more eloquently. Cry about your pain, and even some friends walk away, but transmute it into art, and even some enemies applaud. And that's the thing. Who was the guest we were talking to about that? There was a guest, right? Oh, it was
he was just live calling with that guy singing about getting something to eat with his wife.
Yeah. You're right. So that guy was tired of waiting for his wife always to have to get ready before they went out. And so he turned it into art. And it's the same thing with, like I told you the story about how those people I took my shirt off at the beach and that lady's like, oh my God, Sevan has a dad bod. Like I knew right away when she said that 20 years ago that might have hurt me, but I was so excited that she said it to me in the moment because I was like, oh shit, that's content for my show. And so that's the maturation of an artist when they know that they can, that you become an alchemist of pain. Someone says something mean to you and you just lean into it. Mr. Ventura.
How we doing, guys? Good morning.
What's up? Oh, look at like any good New Year's Day person, you're hydrating.
Yeah, got to. I didn't drink last night, which is a big surprise for me.
Good on you.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm drinking my water. Gonna get some coffee later. Go to the gym. Get it in.
There you go.
Yeah, 2022, man, was the first year that I was consistent with working out and running, which is very difficult with a hectic travel schedule. But first year I did it, and it feels amazing, man. It really translates to the field reporting that I do. So it just translates to what we do on the ground. So it's been awesome.
Why'd you start doing that? What was the inspiration?
I was just kind of out of shape. What actually helped me is my mom calling me fat. I was drinking a lot of soda.
There we go.
And look, I'm not like a fat guy. I was just drinking a lot of soda during the 2020 riots. Like I was just eating bad. It was McDonald's. And then I got home for the holidays and she was like, you are fat as hell. So I started hitting the gym. And then I really like, at least with my kind of guy, with my group of guy friends, we just started kind of bullying each other, which really helps for men. So you got to bully your fellow fat friend or someone who's not in the gym. And just got back in it, man. And for me, it's actually more mental. It's more the mental aspect. But once you got the endorphins going, the confidence going, once you started seeing yourself better shape. I was never a runner because I was always kind of a skinny guy, so I never ran. But finally got running in the mix. Yeah, dude, it just feels amazing. I'm gonna keep it again going this year and just gonna go harder with it.
How often are you running?
I'm running 5 to 6 times a day. So this is my workout
or a day.
I want to see what you guys think. So
yeah,
I go in the gym, I lift for like 90 minutes. After my lifting, I force myself to do 100 push-ups. So after that, I do 100 push-ups, and then I'll go run for 30 minutes. I don't know what the whole speed rate, but I like the rate of 5.6. It's a good jog for me. Usually after the 30 minutes, it's like close to 3 miles. So that's been working for me. Earlier in 2020, I was doing 60 minutes on a treadmill, which was about 5 miles. But I don't know about you guys, but on the third day, my whole body would just be aching on it. Like I just couldn't handle the whole 60 minutes. So I found that 30 minutes is good for me, and I'm able to do the lifting, push-ups, and get everything in.
I like it. You're doing that almost 5 or 6 days. You said 5 or 6 times a day. You meant 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah, there you go. Here, I'm literally running off like 2 hours of sleep because I have some drunk family members that just kept me up all night with Hispanic music. But yeah, 5 to 6 times a week. And yeah, it's just the good thing is like for me, for the work that I do, it like literally translate on the field. So now we'll be at the border. I could go for like miles now on the ground. Backpacks, all that stuff. And I got my fellow. Sometimes I'll be with another Cameron too. And they'll be just dying, man. Like you could just tell their endurance is off. They can't handle it. So the everyday training has been, it's just been, man, it's been paying off. And mentally, it's been great having that discipline. But yeah, man, it's just been awesome. It just really translates to on the field.
It sounds perfect. Your training sounds perfect. The only thing, and I bet you Sousa thinks some similar things, just to keep it fresh for yourself. Something you could do is you could turn that up to 6.6. And then do 2 minutes on and then 1 minute off, and on that 1 minute off, lower it down to 3. We do a lot of interval training just to keep your brain fresh. So it'll be a horrible 2 minutes, and then you have that 1 minute to just walk, and then you forget how bad it was in that minute, and then you do it again. And then that way, if you do that for 30 minutes, you'll get 10 rounds in. And then you can also see, oh shit, I ran a little bit further, even though I walked for, 10 minutes or I didn't go as far. And then you can just fuck with that. You could also do 1 minute at 7.6 and 2 minutes at 3. And I would just to keep it fresh, I would switch that up.
No, yeah, it's
And
been
I
awesome.
would start walking backwards, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I've been
I
seeing
walk
that too.
5 minutes backwards
And
every day on the either on the treadmill or on the bicycle. I pedal the bicycle backwards just so you get some balance.
No, yeah, you're right. And no, I was like even joking with my parents like 2 days ago. I'm like, that's what's actually the awesome thing about being a guy is you can just be direct. Like you can just tell your friend, hey man, you're fat as hell or you're lazy. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I'm like, with a woman, you gotta like dance around the subject because if you say it too direct, it hurts her feelings. So that's the awesome thing. And then like I said, I got a good group of guy friends. We're just like we like bully each other into it. I think that if you're a guy, I feel like that's healthy. You need it.
I think if you're a healthy guy, yeah, you can handle that. And what's cool too, speaking of women, is at least in this community, there's girls like that too. I'll never forget the time I was working out in the gym with a bunch of coworkers, and the workout was to overhead squat 135 pounds. That's when you put the bar over your head and you squat. And I was doing 95, and it was a little Mexican girl, probably 15 years younger than me. And I was squatting across the gym from her, and I heard someone yell across the gym, "God, you're a bitch." And I'm like, oh, I know that, because she was doing 40 pounds more than me. And I knew. I tried not to look up, but I looked up and she smiled at me. I'm like, okay, I know.
No, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, this year, the thing that I want to do is I want to challenge myself to get into like an MMA gym. I tried it out.
Get the footwork and the hands moving.
Yeah. I tried it out earlier December, and I just love it. I love everything about it. So hopefully, I want to throw myself in. The thing for me that always gets hard is the travel. So let's say if I'm on the road, obviously I'll try to get to like a hotel gym. There'll be some border hotels that we stay at that are like they just don't, they don't have that. So if they don't, I'll try to do like 300 to 400 push-ups for like a workout. And then like I'll go outside and run. But I found that the push-ups basically save me on the road.
You can also do when I used to travel a lot, my go-to is, and I still do this workout a lot, is I set the my iPhone for 10 minutes, and at the top of every minute I do 10 burpees. So I do 10 burpees on the minute for 10 minutes. It ends up by the end of 10 minutes, you're so glad you're done, and you're pouring sweat and you're done, and you get all the endorphins and the dopamine, and it's killer. Jody Lynn, holy shit. New Year's love and appreciation for the best podcast ever from the Cabinet Gal. Thanks for your dedication to us, Sevan crew, with outstanding content and guest lineup. Thank you, Jody. And I'm sorry about my power last night. I think that is going to be a thing about this show, is on all the holidays, I want to start going on every night so we can hang out on the holidays. I do want to bring up a link, by the way. First I want to ask you a question. You have a Give, Send, Go account that I gave money to this morning. And why is it? So why do you have that account? You're telling me that when you're at the border, Tucker doesn't call you and be like, "Hey, here's $5,000. Get to the border." How does this work? By the way, you guys, even if you just give $2, or $5, I swear to God, it really fucking matters. So if every person just gave $2 to Jorge when he goes down to the border, and if you haven't seen Jorge's story, we've dug into him pretty deep. Go back and watch the podcast. Those podcasts still get a lot of new views, and you'll see that this is a man who comes from Ecuadorian immigrants, worked their ass off, and now Jorge has turned himself from just a immigrant kid, son of immigrants, and from the very bottom up, he's built his way onto shows like being regulars on Tucker Carlson. So go ahead, Jorge. How does that work? They don't, hey, here's $5,000, get to the border, Jorge.
Yeah, so I'm working. So I work at the Daily Caller. It is founded by Tucker Carlson. One thing a lot of people don't know is in 2020, though, Tucker Carlson basically sold the rest of it to his college roommate, who he started the company with, which is Neil Patel now. The thing is Daily Caller is still a small media company that they don't necessarily have the funds to kind of keep me on the field. So I kind of have the unique, I don't know if it's an opportunity or whatever. I don't know if it's an opportunity. I'm in a unique position where even before Daily Caller and when I was still in community college, people funded me for trips. So right now we kind of have a good relationship where, like, obviously I go on the ground, we get a bunch of great ground reporting. And if people who can, donate, and if you can't donate, it doesn't even matter. Just even sharing the work really matters. So anything that you guys donate, literally, like, it translates for us to just be on the field, on the ground, kind of competing with the big network guys. I do feel that in the past year we might not have like we don't have the money of like obviously like a corporate like a Fox News to be on the border like every single day. And also, when you see Fox News and you see a reporter on TV, I mean, they got a team of like 30 people on the ground. They got like drone people, they got camera people, they got people that like
They have
just go to
trucks,
Mexico.
satellite trucks.
Yeah, they got a whole thing. And then when it's us, it's like literally me, a cameraman, if that, and that's like it. And it's just us kind of going against the big networks. We don't have the funding of those big guys. So the kind of beauty in that actually not being backed by corporate is that I get basically freedom in all of our reporting. So we get to do some of the best stories. We're able to find a lot of good angles that corporate media isn't able to get. I think one of the more powerful stories that we told over the summer was, we were down in Eagle Pass. This little town of Eagle Pass was actually running out of room in their cemeteries because of all the migrants that they were bearing from drowning in the Rio Grande. I mean, you had this little town saying, "Hey, we literally don't have any room to bury people." They actually had to call the state of Texas. They actually had to request a refrigerator trailer to store the bodies. So me and my cameraman went down there. We interviewed the constables. We interviewed the sheriff. We actually went to the cemetery. And like I said, it's one of the more powerful stories. The migrants that they're burying they have to be buried in these like kind of makeshift kind of crosses with like PCP pipes. And the sad thing about being there that day in person is you do see it because the majority of those migrants that are drowning, they can't identify, obviously. So you'll see the John Doe, you'll see the Jane Doe, but I did see several, and it's when you see it in person, it hits you different. But you do see several baby John Doe, so multiple babies drowning in the Rio Grande. So we get to really tell stories that corporate media doesn't get to tell. And I do have a friend who's a corporate journalist who told me that they pitched that story to their network, and like the network didn't believe them that was actually happening. It's like it was actually, we went there with, we interviewed the people who are involved in this, including the sheriff of Eagle Pass, who literally took us to the refrigerator trailers. So I do feel that's kind of the beauty. Obviously, what sucks is we don't have the funding to like always be out there and all that stuff. But I do feel lucky that my following backs me. You guys actually helped me a lot with this podcast. I still get hit up every day like, hey, just discovered you on this podcast and everything. So that's been awesome. But yeah, so it really helps us stay on the ground. There's that story right there. So it's incredible stuff that we get to really do.
Oh, those are PVC pipe crosses. Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. That guy's name right there is Frank Bowles. He's the deputy constable of Eagle Pass. Essentially, this guy's been having to like assist Border Patrol because that's how bad it gets there. His job is not even supposed to be doing that. It's supposed to be doing crime in the city. He actually told me that the border's so bad down there that they'll get calls for domestic violence. They can't even get to the calls because we've been reporting 300 migrants.
So they get a domestic violence call in their own town for tax-paying Americans, but they can't even address those because they're too busy dealing with the border issue.
Yeah, and what they told me, according to Deputy Bowles, is they're averaging a drowning per day, which is insane because before Biden came in, they said that they were getting a drowning every 6 months. Now they're at a drowning per day.
That is nuts. Gosh. So that's true, huh?
Yeah. This area of Eagle Pass, I'm sure you guys seen it on the internet because this is the area where early in the morning you'll get like 3 to 4 groups of like 300 migrants crashing the morning border at once. Fox News drone team like lives there, so they always have great drone of this. But yeah, we went down there and I couldn't believe it. I said, you guys are averaging a drowning per day. And what's crazy is while we were working on that story, as they were telling us that they were averaging a drowning per day, they got a call for a drowning for a Honduran man. So like as we're doing the story, we actually had to rush to the they call it a port of entry 2, which is this bridge. And we put our drone up, and yeah, they put out another body as we were doing this story. It was a Honduran male, and by the time we went to go interview the sheriff, I think we interviewed the sheriff like 3 hours later that day. He's like, "Hey, yeah, that body you guys found, yeah, it's already in the trailer because we have no room in the cemetery. It's already in the trailer." I was like, "What?" And it's like, dude, this is normal. And then another aspect of what he told me is like, "Hey, man, like people forget, like we're a small town. We're not used to even seeing this." He's like, my men and women for the sheriff department, they got like PTSD from all the kids that they're seeing dying on the border.
Do you have a Venmo, Jorge?
Yeah. If people if you guys go to my Instagram, if you click my link, I got a link tree. So we got Venmo, PayPal, we got Cash App. Obviously, the Give Send Go. Any way that people could donate, like I said, really helps us out. Even if it's $2, people, you'd be surprised what we could do with it. Honestly,
I'm gonna put the link here in the chat, guys, just so you guys can donate. And by the way, what I did is when I donated this morning, you can give money to the site too, and I just put that to 0 and gave that extra $2 to Jorge. And I know from the money that you guys send me that every dollar matters. And so, like, don't be hesitant if you're like, hey, I don't, times are hard. Then just give $2.
hey, and like for the folks who literally can't, no worries. Just you sharing the content to other people really helps because we're still battle the algorithms and all that good stuff. And I think people, when they see it, they really, really enjoy it because it's on the ground, it's raw. Just 2 weeks ago, we were in Yuma in the middle of the night. I'm breaking the story of this kind of human smuggling operation. We got the smuggler like on American soil. I put the video up. The thing is, I kind of forget. Like I'm already kind of so used to these things. I don't think they're like the craziest thing in the world anymore. But I put it up, and it went crazy viral. Tucker Carlson's team had me on. They ran that story. Fox News had me on like 3 times just to run that story. But
it's crazy video
crazy.
You got. We have there's a link to it, Caleb. It says you saw people paying the smugglers. That doesn't. I can't believe the smugglers are taking money at the last minute. What if you just don't pay the smuggler?
Well, if you don't pay, you don't even get to that point. Now every smuggling group is different. I was shocked myself to see
there he
that
is right there. By the way,
Yeah.
so you're saying that guy's collecting stuff from he's got a handful of cash in his hand.
Yeah. So right there, he's collecting payments, and right there, like what we're witnessing in this video, this is a sophisticated human smuggling operation that happens every night in Yuma at 2 a.m. I mean, it's almost. I've been following it for the summer, and I just went back out there and I already knew. I'm like, I already know where to go. I already know it's gonna pop off, and boom, right on time. These guys come at hundreds, and the thing is, normally human smugglers don't even walk up to this point because they don't want to. Technically, they don't want to be on American soil. Like for them, they think that like as soon as they step on American soil, Border Patrol's there. But under this administration, these folks are so bold. They do this, and I documented this one for like 3 nights straight on my past trip. By the 3rd night, the guy didn't even care I was filming him. He actually turned around after I was done filming him in Spanish. This guy tells me, he said, "Hey, are you gonna be back out here tomorrow?" I said, maybe. I'm not sure yet. He says, "Hey, if you're back out, can you bring me a cheeseburger from In-N-Out?" I mean, the guy was like,
Holy
"That's
shit!" It just looks like he's taking tickets right there. Like he's just. That's
Hey,
crazy.
what
really,
is?
really quick? I just want to add for the audience. What we're seeing here, we're not just going to see Central Americans or South Americans. We're seeing people from all over the world get smuggled in this little group, in these groups. It's not a little group. These groups. So you'll see folks from Peru, Cuba, Brazil, but then you'll meet people from Afghanistan, from Russia, from Georgia, Uzbekistan. I didn't even know Uzbekistan was a country, to be honest. So I was covering Yuma, but you're meeting folks from Europe, all Middle East, all over. They come through Yuma. It's insane.
How many Mexicans? Very few.
Very few Mexicans, because Mexicans get automatically expelled back to Mexico. It's an agreement that's been around for a while. So there's kind of this thinking that people think that, oh, it's Mexicans. It's rarely you'll see a Mexican crossing because they already know.
Why can't they just say they're from? Why can't they just say they're from Nicaragua?
They'll run their identification and everything, and then they'll end up finding out.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Did you buy the guy the burger?
No, I didn't return the next day, but that was a good chuckle. I was like, you know what? I appreciate the sense of humor. That was good. And look, hey,
I mean, you kind of should buy him the burger at that point. It's kind of, I mean, part of me is like, well, could they bust him for being an accomplice for, but on the other hand, you could say it's humanitarian because he's out there, but also you got to watch. I mean, you're trying to make contacts on both sides. You're trying to actually tell the story, right? So if you can make friends with the smuggler by bringing him an In-N-Out and some fries.
At first the smugglers freak out because when they first see me, they say, "Hey, are you?" They thought I was a Fed. They thought I was like a law enforcement guy, and I was like, "Look, I'm just a reporter. My job is just to film what's going on. I'm not gonna arrest you, bro. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care. Like this is their problem, the federal government's problem." And then the guy was pretty cool after that, and then he just let me do my thing. Yuma's sketchy because Yuma's the location where last year, not 2022, but back in 21 in October, is where I had the human smuggler with the whole gun situation. So
I
these guys
remember
started-
seeing that
Yeah.
footage. Yeah.
So that happened in Yuma. So you have to watch out these areas because these guys are just brazen with it now. They're down there.
How close is that to Los Algodones?
Oh, I think the Mexican town across from is Los Algodones. So the way you have San Diego and Tijuana, you have Yuma and Los Algodones, and Los Algodones has become a essential crossing point for migrants from all over the world. So like if you're in Texas, you're not really going to see a Russian. It'd be very rare. But down there in Yuma, you're seeing Russians, folks from Georgia. You'll see a lot of men from India, Cubans. I mean, it's insane the amount of folks that come through there, and it's a sophisticated operation. The first time I went to Yuma was, I think it was last year in the summer. I went out there in the daytime, and then a border patrol agent pulls me aside. He said, "Hey man, I'm just letting you know you're not going to see nothing right now." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Dude, it's 110 degrees. Like everything happens at night. You got to come back at night." And then came back, and I was just shocked to see the groups these guys smuggle in and how they're able to overwhelm these guys. I mean, I'm on this very last trip. Like I said, I was there like just a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It got to a point where it was like around 6 a.m. And I remember just staring at a group of 300 migrants with no agents to apprehend them. Like it was like, I remember I looked around and there was no one. I mean, if the migrants wanted to, they could have literally like ran into the U.S. even further, but there's no need to when Border Patrol is going to process you and then release you. Then once Border Patrol releases you, you're legally allowed to be in the U.S. after that. Like after that,
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm just struggling to get.
Wow.
and the thing is, I can't, like, it's hard for like
Let
people
me
to
ask
picture
you a dumb
300.
question.
Like imagine you're staring at like almost like I can't explain it, but 300 people like are just waiting for Border Patrol. There was no agents to apprehend them. Like I'm looking around, no one, and you're just like, this is every day. Like no other country in the world is allowing this amount of illegal immigration. Like why do we have to be the first? And I was like looking at history, and like I was like studying immigration, and it was saying that like societies can't handle this like radical shift in population. Like we just can't. We're not accustomed to handling that. Like if you think about our people, like all of our people, like we come from small villages and towns, and then it developed over time to like being used to living in a major city like LA. Like we're just not used to this huge radical change. And every country that I look at that's allowing a huge amount of illegal immigration or even just legal immigration has massive problems with culture. Switzerland, Netherlands, like all these countries that like want to let it out.
France got a huge problem.
France has a massive problem. I was just seeing over the World Cup when like Morocco would win, all these Moroccans would riot in Belgium, in Paris, and like all these cities in Spain because they all migrated to these other countries. So it's just like, when you see it in person, it's just like that's why I've used the word, and it is appropriate. I mean, it's not like I'm lying here, but I've used the word humanitarian crisis because Americans love to think or tend to think humanitarian crisis. Oh, well, that happens in Yemen or that happens somewhere far away in Africa. It's like, no, it's happening here. Like it's happening like 3 hours from a major city like Phoenix. It's happening. Like it's real.
I saw a number 8,000 a day are crossing the border. Is that right?
Yeah. That's accurate. They're expecting if Title 42, which it basically Supreme Court said it has to stay till we hear decisions and all that stuff back until at least spring. But if Title 42 lifted, Department of Homeland Security thought that it was going to go from 8,000 to 14,000 a day, which would be, I mean,
how long has it been at 8,000 a day?
Wow.
Is it like a month straight?
It's been basically since Biden's come in. It's been hovering between 6 and 8. 5 and 8, but right now we're getting back to the 6 and 8 because it's been a disaster because you had thousands of migrants move to all these border towns thinking that Title 42 was going to be lifted. Now look, Title 42, whether it stays or not, you're still going to get. It's not going to stop people from coming illegally, But after it stayed, a lot of folks that I interviewed were like, "Hey, we're still going to come in." So El Paso, which was seeing about 1,000 a day. They're now seeing 2,000, and we're thinking that they were going to get up to 5,000.
What's the population of El Paso?
Oh, I mean, on top of my head, I wouldn't know, but El Paso, I would say is
500,000.
Maybe, yeah.
Caleb will tell us in a second. Here's the reason I want to contextualize this for people. 670,000. So in 2 years, If 1,000 people come in a day, in 2 years, that city would be completely overrun. There would be more migrants than there are citizens.
Well, the thing is,
How can how is that sustainable?
That's the argument that us on the border are trying to make. It's like, dude, we're allowing massive waves of illegal immigration. The November numbers just came out, and we apprehended over 200,000 migrants. And the thing is, that's only the ones we apprehend. There's still the got-away number. Those are the numbers that Border Patrol they detect with technology, but they can't apprehend. And those folks are in the country, and we don't know their background. And majority of the reason why they want to be gotaways is because they already have a criminal history in the U.S. They've been deported for some reason because they broke some law.
They have drugs on them.
Some sketchy individual, cartel related, bringing drugs. Like, at the end of the day, we don't know. At least the people that we see that I'm filming, at least they're turning themselves in. But we have a massive, massive issue. This, to me, we might not feel it. We're already feeling it directly, but we're going to feel it in, I think, 5 to 10 years. Massive wave of low-wage workers, uneducated workers. Are some going to simulate? Yes.
Well, shit, if we can just get some workers, that would help. If we can just get workers. The people in this country don't even want to work. Chris Cordino, 365 times 2 times 5,000 is 3.6 million. That would mean that 1 out of every 100 people after 2 years at this rate, that would be 1 out of every
Biden and Harris have
100
already
people
let in.
illegal.
Biden and Harris have already let in more people than 8 years of Obama. I mean, they used to call Obama the porter in chief. You know what I'm saying? Like Democrats,
wow.
If you look at history, like Democrats, normally have actually been tough on the border. Now, are they have been tough as Republicans? No, but they've been tough on the border. They know about illegal immigration. One of my favorite clips, I think I mentioned it to you guys plenty of times on the show, but I still love it, is the 2015 Bernie Sanders is being interviewed by this progressive journalist, and the progressive journalist is like, why can't we have open borders? Like, why can't we, help all these poor people in these countries? And even Bernie, Democratic Socialist Bernie, goes, if we have open borders, corporations love it because it's going to undermine American workers. He called it a Koch brothers conspiracy. Bernie Sanders himself called it that. I mean, it's insane if we would replay that clip now. But Democrats used to have this tough on the border stance. They knew that you have to protect American wages. Bill Clinton of all people, has speeches about this. But this administration has been, I don't know what it is at this point. Is it on purpose? It's, it certainly feels like it at this point, but no other country in the world allows this. And the funny thing is, when I post some of my immigration videos, I get a lot of response from people in Japan. So the great thing about Twitter is, I just hit the Google Translate. I'm seeing what these people in Japan are saying, and they're like laughing at us. They're like the U.S. is the weakest country in the world. Can't even protect its own borders. Like,
well, we're not a country if we can't protect our borders. We're not a country.
I think Japan. I'm not gonna get the number right, but I think Japan lets in like 10 illegal immigrants per year, if that, into
Crazy.
Japan. Like, it's insane.
Gino Sadajas, Jorge, can you clarify your Cash App? Not sure which Jorge Ventura to use. Linktree didn't pull up your Cash App. Thanks for your work you're doing from those of us here in San Antonio.
It should be the one there in the Linktree Cash App. If not, I believe if you just put like Jorge Ventura or Ventura Report. Oh, there it is. The Ventura Report. That should be the legit one. That one right there is the legit one. So
we'll leave that on the screen. All you have to do if you have a phone is point your camera at the screen right now. We'll leave it up here for a minute, and then click the link, and it'll take you to wherever you can donate a few dollars to keep the reporting going. So CD Daywalker, make no mistake, this is an invasion. How do you know if someone's carrying drugs or not, Jorge? What do they have a distinct look to them? Can you profile someone who's carrying drugs, and what drugs are they?
So the way you could kind of tell if they are. Now we're the areas that we're hitting, guys. Like we're filming human, like people being smuggled. Those folks are not going to have drugs because the people who are running drugs are all going to be real connected. I know they're going to be really close to the cartel. So what I mean by that is, the cartel controls the border. So when I'm filming something, let's say you guys see a video of mine.
That's such a strong statement. The cartel controls the border. Like, come on, man, really?
Well, let me explain what I mean by that is
you're scaring me.
when you guys see, when you guys see my videos or, other reporters, when you guys see these groups of 200, 300 migrants hitting one border spot, that's controlled by the cartel. And they do that to overwhelm Border Patrol officials on purpose. So the folks who are running the drugs in, we're never going to catch them on camera because they're hitting really rural areas and areas that, you're just not going to get to on foot almost. It's very difficult. And the areas that we see on film, they're doing that to overwhelm officials. So the folks who are running in, you won't see them as much. Now, the good thing is I've been able to work with a lot of Texas ranchers. And the thing is, a lot of these cartel guys, these smugglers, they actually have pinpoints on their phones. So some of these pinpoints, once they hit the U.S., will actually be on some of these, it could be on a Texas rancher's ranch. Like, these are just regular people. So I've actually have gone to some of these properties, and we've gone, we basically were able to pull footage from, little homes or little buildings that they have. These ranches are huge in Texas, for those folks who know. So they have, multiple buildings. But we're able to pull footage. And one of the distinctions is folks who are running drugs, they're always going to be in the camouflage gear. So you're never going to see them in normal migrant gear. They're going to be camouflage. They're in this, I forgot the name of the shoe, but they wear a shoe that actually hides their tracks. We found the shoe all over. So they'll be kind of dressed in that gear, and they're on a mission. So they're not going to be in areas where we are with reporters or Border Patrol. They hit areas kind of in the middle of the night in the camouflage gear, and then they have pinpoints on their cell phones. We've actually talked to ranchers that were able to catch some of these guys, which is pretty insane. And then they're able to retrieve some of these phones, which is like, it's incredible. But one of my favorite is we interviewed a Texas rancher by the name of Eddie. This guy's just badass. This guy's like 75 years old. He should be retired. Like, this guy should be sipping pina coladas, but he has a passion for like defending his ranch. And one of his ranch is on a pinpoint for cartel. So this guy almost on a daily has what they call gotaways now, running through his property, using his property to be moved, to be moving drugs in different areas. So he's caught some of these folks, got in like pictures of them, and this guy always has to be armed. To the T, because who knows what these folks could do. But what he tells me is, he feels like if he doesn't defend his ranch, no one will, and that someone's got to do it. So you hear those type of stories all the time down there in Texas. It's actually quite normal now.
So if let's say if 5,000 people are coming across a day, where do these people sleep on their first night?
Yeah, where do they
cross?
go? That's so many fucking people.
What do they eat? Do they have some money on them? Do they start how do they survive? And what's their next plan of action once they cross? Family?
So for the majority, they could thank basically the U.S. federal government, because what essentially happens is,
holy shit! There's 10 cities like that.
Yeah. So
that looks like Berkeley, California. That looks like Portland.
This was in Ciudad Juarez. So across Ciudad Juarez is El Paso. So we broke this story about a month before you started to see like massive waves crashing El Paso, and then to the point where El Paso had to declare an emergency. So just to answer the question, so the majority of I'm just speaking for the majority here. The majority of these migrants, they cross illegally into the U.S. They'll get picked up by Border Patrol. Then they're taken to a processing station, at the processing center. At the center is where Border Patrol is able to get information. Who are these folks? Are they criminals? Are they not? Are they seeking asylum? What's their ordeal? The thing is, because of this administration, of how they basically have an open border policy, so many migrants are crashing the border at once. These processing centers are becoming overwhelmed, overfilled, over capacity, everything, right? So what Border Patrol does is they do a couple of things. They say, okay, once we're overwhelmed, we either take them to an NGO, which could be like a Catholic church, a type of that type of organization. Catholic churches right now, like NGOs, if they're taken to them, they'll then organize the travel for that migrant, and some of these NGOs are being reimbursed by the federal government. So a lot of these Catholic churches are doing is they'll get that migrant and then get them to a major city or connect them to a family member in a major city. So they're able to transport them. A lot what the federal government is doing is the federal government is also transporting these people to family members and putting them on planes, anything they could do. So if you go to El Paso right now and try to get a flight, I'm telling you right now, out of El Paso, it's going to be minimum $1,300 because they're flying out migrants, hundreds of them every single day, trying to get them out. So the majority of
meaning it's driving up flight costs.
It's driving
Because
up flight costs. So the majority of these migrants are being transported to major cities, connected with family members, sponsors, all that stuff. So you're seeing migrants dropped off in New York City, Washington, D.C., L.A., Phoenix. Which actually was shocking was Gavin Newsom actually came out and said if Title 42 expires, that California cannot take in any more migrants, that all their shelters have been overwhelmed. Even Gavin Newsom is saying that we need a stronger border policy.
Wow.
So right now, what we're seeing is this overwhelmed systems and shelters. And El Paso is actually kind of a microcosm for the story. And what I mean by that is El Paso started getting hit by 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 migrants per day. So their shelters got overwhelmed. That's where I flew over there. And that's where we got all that powerful video of migrants literally being released to the streets of downtown. Like women, children were like, hey, we don't even know. Here you go. Just sleep on the streets. And you have we went out there and we got some powerful interviews. Like I was interviewing kids, women out there with like a 7-month-old baby. One woman told me that it was getting so cold that her baby was turning purple. Her baby was only like 18 days old. And they were just releasing them to the streets. And the reason I was getting these interviews is, obviously to share these stories, to share the human side, but to also tell Americans that there's nothing humane about this open border policy. Like we have migrants sleeping on the streets. And when I was out there in El Paso, it was, I didn't see the city of El Paso down there saying, hey, here's a sweater, here's supplies. Like, what do you need from us? The city was never down there helping these people. It was literally regular folks from El Paso, regular taxpayers had to go down there and donate. And like regular people were going down there just feeling really mad. And we're like, you know what? I don't want this like mom and her kids to sleep on the street. Like, I'll buy you a hotel night for 2 nights, at least to keep you off the street for 2 nights. Like, it was insane that like this is happening in the U.S. And the reason I bring up El Paso again is because it was in the news recently, but it's a microcosm of what's happening every single border city. Yuma, where I just left, the whole county declared an emergency because they thought Title 42 was going to expire. You have Eagle Pass running out of room.
What is Title 42? What is Title 42?
Title 42 is the Trump era policy that was placed under the pandemic, where if you cross illegally as a migrant, because we're in a pandemic, Trump could just deport you ASAP, meaning no asylum hearing.
But they're not even doing that. So you're saying the thought of the policy is actually stopping even more people, but the policy isn't even being enforced. Title 42 process has allowed U.S. to expel upward to 2 million migrants from the border, including surge of Haitian asylum seekers last year, Venezuelans who have been coming in large numbers, and Mexicans who make up the bulk unauthorized migrants in the Southwest. But what you're saying is that they're not. It sounds like they're not actually even using Title 42 for most of the people.
Okay, no, yeah, they're not. They're releasing the most. They're using Title 42, but very minimally. Like it's not something that they're enforcing by a lot. It's very minimal that they've used it. They're not releasing a lot of. They're not deporting a lot of migrants. The majority are getting released. The reason, so just I want to make this clear for the audience because I don't want to confuse them. So the reason I say, even if Title 42 stays or leave, it's not stopping the illegal immigration, because I always get asked that. They said, hey, Jorge, if Title 42 stays, is that going to slow it down? No. The reason why it's not going to slow it down, because you don't have any deterrence from this administration. Keyword, deterrence. Under Trump, you had deterrence. And what deterred migrants was remain in Mexico policy. Under Trump,
while you wait for your court case. I think you mentioned that before.
So under Trump, it's all about mindset, literally. So the thinking was, as a migrant, they would say, well, why would I put myself in the hands of cartels and smugglers and go through this dangerous journey just to cross the U.S., either for Trump to literally pick you up and put you in a Mexican border town, which is sometimes more dangerous than the home country that they're fleeing, and put you in this Mexican border town, and then Trump will say, hey, you know what? We'll give you that court case, but you're going to wait in Mexico for it. We're not doing what Obama did, because Obama would say, okay, we'll give you the court case, but we'll release you in the U.S. And come to no surprise, only 14% of the time that migrant even goes to that court case.
Right.
I mean,
they're gone after that.
So Trump said, hold on. No. He said, we'll give you the court case, but you're going to wait in Mexico for the court case. And that right there deterred, they're right there. That's why we never saw that wave of illegal immigration, because every migrant would say, it's not worth it. Like we would be placed in Tijuana, we'd be placed in Matamoros, we could be placed in Ciudad Juarez, which is those are cartel controlled. So it's all about deterrence. So right now you don't have it. what the mindset right now is, as long as I touch American soil,
You're good.
I'm good to go. I'm good to go after that.
What happens to these people? Will they be deported in 5 years or 10 years? No. They just come here and they start the process of becoming legal?
Not even that. I mean, the thing is, a lot of these folks get it's called an NTA, which is a notice to appear in court. I mean, that rarely happens. That court case, it could be for another 2 years. It could be another 5. It could be even more than that, because the whole immigration system is overwhelmed. So even the judges in the court cases, the immigration judges, it's all overwhelmed. So even if you get a court case, it might not even be for 5 years from now. So during that whole time, they're legally allowed to be in the U.S. after that. The federal government is legally allowing them to be in the U.S. Are some of these folks going to be citizens? Sure, maybe 5%.
What a mess!
I'll give it 10% just to be like, just to give them a little bump. Let's say 10%. I don't think it's going to hit 10 at all. But let's just say if that. But the majority are not. The majority are not going to assimilate. These people are low skilled. They're not going to adapt to the system. They're not going to pay taxes into the system. There's a great story. I don't know if you want to pull it up, Matthew, from Yuma. There's a Yuma border town hospital that's been left with $20 million in like unpaid services from all the migrants they've been attended to. But obviously they're not going to get paid from the migrant. The federal government isn't going to reimburse this hospital. So it's a complete disaster.
Which basically ruins the hospital also for the local taxpayers. Ruins it.
Exactly. In Texas, it's getting to the point where only certain amount. They're running out of basically medical offices to even treat the migrants. They're running out of offices to even do the autopsies to see the cause of death for migrants. For folks who don't know, under Biden and Harris, we've already had over 700 migrant deaths, which is a record. Could you imagine even half of those migrant deaths under a Trump administration? You would have Don Lemon and CNN living at the border. Going live. You would have Anderson Cooper in Mexico, like traveling with the migrants. It would be insane the amount of mainstream media coverage. New York Times would be all over the border.
That's a really great point. You had one guy on a
point.
horse, and they tried to paint him as he was hitting people with the whip, and yet you have people drowning every day because of the policy.
I was literally looking at PCP pipes with the name Baby John Doe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And take the politics out of it. Take the Democrat on a human level. What are we doing here? What are we?
It's written on the PVC pipe, like in Sharpie. It's like written on the pipe with the Sharpie.
It's just a little makeshift thing, and that's all they got. That's all they got. And actually, somebody saw our story. Somebody saw our story from that, and they literally went down to Eagle Pass and donated $1,000 to the cemetery. They're like, here's $1,000. At least bury these people with proper tombstones. And look, it's not Eagle Pass's fault. Obviously, they're literally doing what they can. It's not their fault that they have to deal with a death a day, which is, that's
dude. This
insane.
is like an old Clint Eastwood movie where the people would die and they would just dig a hole and then put a wooden cross on it.
And dude, what makes me mad, too, is after being on the border and seeing this, constantly in every trip I go to, what just irks me is then seeing the whole white progressive and the celebrities and that whole fake shit. And what I mean by that is some stupid thing would happen and they got to make a video say, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening in our country. Or they do the whole fake social justice thing. Or during the riots, I remember you go on Amazon and Amazon in your face, Black Lives Matter. If you take Uber, do you want to donate $5 to the Ukraine war? Where's everyone for this one? Yeah. Where's all the corporations for this one?
Our neighbors,
and I'm Hispanic, and it irks me more because it's you guys don't even care about Latinos. It's such a fake thing to that you guys act like you guys care about like Latinos and the Latino people. You guys don't care. It's black and brown people that are dying at the border. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not white people. It's black and brown people. But there's no social justice cause. There's no celebrity making a video saying, "Oh my God, there's babies dying at the border. They're being buried in the cemetery. They can't even identify the babies."
Oh, wow.
None of that.
Yeah.
None of that. Nothing. No big corporation push. Nothing from your favorite. Right now we're supposed to be going to a concert, and Lizzo's supposed to start her show. In the middle of her show, Lizzo's supposed to be hey guys, donate I don't know, this amount of money so we can save the migrants. None of that. You don't hear none of that.
Nope, they're more worried about the next transgender issue in school, and exactly. Those communities are at risk, right?
So
Hey,
I hope this just shows people how all that fake, virtual signaling and the whole social, that's all BS.
Yeah.
They couldn't give an F about these migrant kids down at the border, dude.
By the way, you're reporting. It's interesting you say that. I want to go back to something we talked about in the very beginning. The fact that you do go down there with your minimalist crew is the reason why you get the footage of things. What's really going on. You have a crew of 30. You're not getting anything real. You're getting, first of all, none of those people are passionate like you. They're there just to make a paycheck. It's not a dig at them, but that's all that they're doing. Right. There's probably maybe just the reporter is the only one who cares. They want to break something new for their own career, but you can actually go down there and get those shots like the smuggler taking money. That tent city, Jorge, that we saw, was that on the Mexican side or on the U.S. side? Mexican side? Is that a hotel basically? Do those tents always stay there? Those people just stay there and then move on and the tents stay there?
So that part that's called Ciudad Juarez, and right across it is El Paso. Just for folks who don't know, Ciudad Juarez is like in the top 10 most dangerous cities in the world. I mean, it's completely cartel control. So
these are one of those cities where all the girls go missing all the time that I've read about, right?
So what happened is the cartel started picking Ciudad Juarez as a route that they liked again, and they started bringing in thousands of migrants. Now, what was interesting is what was building up there was about 2,000 tents, majority Venezuelan. Because basically they made the journey, and then Biden, I don't know if you want to pull it up, Matthew, I forgot the exact policy, but Biden, he actually put in this like last minute policy of saying that if you're a Venezuelan and you turn yourself in illegally, they were just gonna like deport you automatically. Like you had to go through a port of entry. So what was building up there was actually this kind of Venezuelan migrant camp, because they were like, hey, we're gonna get deported if we go in there as individuals. So that's why you see a lot of folks going in there as families. A lot of fake families doing that. But they were all kind of anticipating Title 42 to end, and then when it didn't, they just kind of crashed the border at once. And then Ciudad Juarez themselves, the officials went in there and just kind of cleared that camp out, because optically it was looking bad, because it kept just hitting, going on the news, and it just looked, optically it was just bad for Ciudad Juarez.
Who cleaned it up? Who cleaned up the camp?
Basically the Mexican officials or Ciudad Juarez officials went in there, they cleaned it up, and then I think within 3 or 4 days they got hit with another wave of just thousands just crashing it again, and then they just kind of put their hands up and they're like, all right, we kind of give up. And it got so bad, as you guys started, I mean, you guys probably seen the viral videos that were going out of El Paso because it was in the news. It got so bad. I mean, literally, the Democratic mayor of El Paso, who was instructed by the Biden administration to not declare an emergency, was forced to declare an emergency because it just got to a point where they couldn't handle it anymore.
Why did he tell him not to declare an emergency? For political reasons? Like they didn't want the attention?
Yeah, Department of Homeland Security and the Biden administration basically basically told the mayor to not declare an emergency because optically it was going to hurt Biden, and the mayor agreed. The mayor, like a good boy, said yes, Mr. Biden, and he didn't declare an emergency. Then about 10 days went by, and it just got so bad, and in the media onslaught. I mean, by that time, see, the thing is, there's moments where the story gets too big, even mainstream media can't even turn away. So once mainstream media started hitting it harder, he was forced to declare an emergency. That's why then we saw National Guard down there. They had the Humvees on the bank. So as of right now, the crossings in El Paso plummeted. But I mean, in my prediction, it's going to rise as soon as those Humvees and the National Guard leave, because an emergency is declared. It is going to last for about 30 days. So I think it's going to end. I think like in the middle of January, like January 20th, it'll end. We'll kind of see what's the move after that. But right now they got National Guard down there. They got like 2 miles of razor wire. They got Humvees down there. Just to show some force and be, at least show some sign of deterrence.
Have some presence, yeah.
Exactly.
Is the wall doing anything?
No. In some areas, but the reason it's not is because by the time that these migrants make it to the wall, they're technically on American soil, and by technical terms, since they are on American soil, the federal government has to basically deal with the issue. So it's just been, man, like, people always ask me like, hey, Jorge, is there any, like, what's a positive sign?
Yeah.
They always go, I mean, I literally wish I could tell you. I feel like every time I go on the show too, it's just gotten like drastically worse, because I always tell myself it can't. But it is. I don't know how accurate this number is, but there's I believe they're like a nonprofit kind of group, think tank in DC. It's called FAIR. It's like something immigration something. But they had an article not too long ago where under Biden and Harris, we already had 5.5 illegal apprehensions at the border. I mean, 5.5 million illegal apprehensions at the border, which is, I mean, that's absolutely insane. This is also playing a role with Central American countries. So for folks who don't know, El Salvador has Nayib Bukele, who's their president. Nayib Bukele and Trump had a great relationship. And the reason why they had a great relationship is because he liked that Trump was strong on the U.S. border because it translates to El Salvador. Bukele has a vision of, we don't want Salvadorians leaving the country because we need them here to help the economy, which is very obvious. But together, they actually had a great relationship where they kept Salvadorians from the illegally migrating. Trump basically forced Mexico to have troops on their border. So on the Guatemala-Mexico border, Mexico had a huge, full force right there with their National Guard. That's all gone now. But there was a Summit of Americas back in June, if I'm not mistaken, of last year, where you have South America, Central America, United States, Canada, all the world leaders, they meet in LA, obviously discuss issues. El Salvador declined to meet with the U.S. over its immigration policy because El Salvador is pissed off because since we have an open border system, it's basically enhances human smugglers to basically continue to the whole process. So El Salvador is very pissed. Guatemala is very pissed. They hate the open border policy because it empowers the human smugglers in their countries. So El Salvador right now had to step up human smuggling charges. They're doing the best they can. But El Salvador is rebounding. So I'm not meeting a lot of El Salvadors that are legally crossing.
I want to read you guys a list of these are all the states with less than 3 million people. So if you think 3 million immigrants have come in the last 3 years, I don't know what the exact number is. Maybe Caleb will pull up a second. Mississippi, Kansas, New Mexico, Nebraska, Idaho, West Virginia, Hawaii, New Hampshire, Maine, Montana, Rhode Island, Delaware, South Dakota, North Dakota, Alaska, and the District of Columbia, Vermont, Wyoming. Basically, you could take any of those states, remove all the citizens, and fill them with migrants, and that's what you're looking at. It's more people than Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa, North Mariana Islands. Basically,
that's happening real time right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Insane,
Montana, Rhode
dude.
Island, and Delaware have 3 million people between the three of them.
No other country in the world is allowing this. I also want to mention
it's not a country at this point is what is the scary part. It's so crazy.
The astonishing, the record number of unaccompanied minors reaching the border. I think we've already had 500,000 unaccompanied minors reach the border. And let me explain.
In the last 2 years?
Let me explain what happens on the U.S. side. So when you have all these unaccompanied children reaching the border with all these other migrants, like I said, it overwhelms the systems. When it overwhelms the systems, guess what the U.S. government has to do? They have to release these unaccompanied minors to vetted sponsors. Quote, vetted. You know how long it takes to vet an individual before you release a child? I mean, this should take, at least 6 months. Dude, they're because they're so overwhelmed, they're just vetting, basically they're just expediting the process. According to Axios, let me repeat this again. According to Axios is not right-wing. As you guys know, Axios is basically mainstream. According to Axios, 1 out of 3 unaccompanied children that get released inside the United States, the government is now losing track of when they do the follow-up. The government is losing track of 1 out of 3 unaccompanied children that get released inside the United States. If I told you guys 1 out of 10, that's already insane, bro. That's already 10%. We're losing 1 out of 3. And they're getting lost in the sex trafficking industry. They're getting lost in a lot of them in the labor trafficking. So they're getting forced to work on the illegal marijuana operation, something that we reported on, something that we've talked to witnesses about, the Honduran teens being forced to work on these grows. This is insane. This is happening in the U.S. It's like the unaccompanied minor children. That's a whole nother story. And I just want to.
The sex trafficking thing is real.
Oh yeah, that right there. It's not a conspiracy. Like I said, this is from Axios, and I did a whole story just on unaccompanied children at the border in McAllen because I was just meeting so many. And I remember I was interviewing three of them, and it was 2 brothers and a sister. The sister was 8 years old. The brother was 10. Even the oldest was 12, right? I'm interviewing these siblings, and I go, "Where's your parents?" Back in Guatemala, we came alone. And as I'm interviewing, that stat came up to my head. I said, "Oh my God, they don't even know that one of them is going to get released inside the U.S. and they're going to be lost forever." Like the government can no longer find that vetted sponsor, and they're literally expediting the process because they're so overwhelmed. I mean, you would think to vet an adult or somebody, a sponsor for a children, like this would take maybe 6 months minimum, like a year.
And so there's people at the border who know this is happening, and they see this as an opportunity to collect kids and put them into this type of environment, sex trafficking, labor camps, etc.
What is happening is you're having fake, like these kids are being trained to be like, "Oh yeah, I do have a family member. It's this person," and then even the government is connecting to say, "Hey, are you this person? Can you pick this person up?" Yes. And they just pick them up. And then when they do the follow-up, like in 2 months, to say, "Hey, let's see how Maria's doing," the 8-year-old that we released to Pablo. "Hey, Maria. Oh wait, we can't. They're not picking up the phone anymore. All right, let's go to the home they gave us the address to. Oh wait, they're not there anymore. What do you think is happening, dude? Like,
this is bad.
Insane. This is insane."
And going back to what you were saying earlier, we just spent $2.6 billion on the lawyers for the January 6th thing. We just sent billions of dollars over to Ukraine. We have all these corporations and celebrity crying about oppression, reparations, and slavery from the past, and it's happening right fucking now to the kids. And not one peep from corporate media, not one peep from these corporations virtual signaling on all the bullshit they normally do.
Dude, where's our speech from the Oscars? Where's our speech when the actors get the award?
Where's Leo?
Where's Leo? They get the award and go, "Hey guys, I just want to use my platform to shine a light that 1 out of 3 unaccompanied children that are reaching the border are getting lost in sex trafficking." Nothing.
Crazy.
Jorge, what's happening with the politics in these towns? Are these towns are any of these towns flipping the script? Or any of them like, "Holy shit, we're not going to vote Democrat anymore"? Do you see any like big shift in politics at the border towns?
Yeah. So just for some context here, all these border towns are overwhelmingly Hispanic, Latino voters. They vote Democrat pretty heavy. Maybe the town that you can kind of get out of that is San Diego. San Diego is the exception. It's like literally a major city. I'm talking about these border towns of South Texas and Arizona, overwhelmingly Democrat and overwhelmingly Latino, obviously overwhelmingly working class. So you have these towns now taking a beating from the migrant crisis. So you actually have loyal Democratic voters voting Republican for the very first time off this issue. I traveled to South Texas during the midterms to interview voters kind of about this phenomenon, because in South Texas they were seeing huge drastic shifts to the Republican Party that they've never seen in history, and they were happening in these time spans that were, I mean, it was huge point shifts. I believe, like, if you look at back in 2016, Clinton beat Trump by like, I think, over 40, 50 points in South Texas. I mean, she blew him out of the water. And 4 years later, Trump made historic gains in all those border towns, a lot of Hispanic communities. Some of them he was actually able to flip Republican. If you guys remember Myra Flores, the congresswoman who flipped a district, she flipped a district that was voting Democrat for 100 years. So
she's still in, right? That just happened. She's still in. She's
still in it. That was historic. The other one who's joining her is Monica de la Cruz in South Texas. She was able to flip a district that's been Democrat for 60, 80 years. So what's happening now is that you're having people wake up to the issue. When I'm down there, they kind of feel this like anger. They feel this like, "Hey, you forgot about us," like kind of feeling like, "Hey," and they hate the whole Ukraine thing. Like you speak to the Hispanics down there in South Texas, they hate the whole Ukraine and donating billions. So the sense you get from folks is you get the anger, and they feel that they've been forgotten about, like almost like they've been spit on and just like kind of pushed to the side.
We made it here legally. We're tax-paying people down here, and now you're letting our city get overrun.
Yeah, I was actually interviewing this like base Mexican dude who was like, he literally just spoke Spanish, Mexican national, who is a U.S. citizen, who opened up his own business in McAllen, and he was like, "Dude, I mean, the border is one thing," he said, but the cultural shift in the Democrats. I was like, "What do you mean by that?" He's like, this whole push to the whole trans movement and like, kids could be who they want. He's like, that is not what we do. And he's like, "I'm a Catholic. That's against my religion." He said they just move way too far on the social issues. So that's that's also kind of an issue for them down there. I mean, you go down there in South Texas, folks are really religious. They go to church every day. Like, it's that type of community. So once you go too left on the social issue, you're going to lose folks who maybe just vote a Democrat, for economic reasons or other stuff. But on that, they feel like they moved too far left. Myra Flores, I think what helped her win was her messaging. And when I saw her campaigning, one thing that she always said is, I'm all about God and family and country. And that might sound simple, but when you convey that message to your voters and actually believe it and are from there and people see that, it's a winning message and people relate to that. One thing Myra also said that I think connected with those Hispanic voters was, hey, I'm not even like a diehard Republican. Like I'm not even like Republican Party first. She says, I'm God first. Like I'll never put this party even ahead of that. So that type of messaging won with folks, and mainstream media couldn't understand it. Like if you watch MSNBC, they were trying to understand, why are we seeing this shift in South Texas? Their minds blew up. They couldn't understand what was going on. The New York Times had this piece after Myra won, and the headline was "The Rise of the Far Right Latina," and the whole piece was a hit piece, obviously against Myra, but it was more, to me, it was almost an attack on her voters. It was an attack on people that went to church. It was an attack on people that are conservative, that believed in just marriage and family, like the little basic things. The New York Times just attacked those people, and I said this when I said the piece. I said, "You mother effers, like you white progressives, white liberals, living in your Manhattan apartment, you don't understand working class people. You don't know someone that goes to church. You don't know someone that like has to get up 9 to 5 and like they putting their kids to school. Like you don't know that, and they can't relate. And it's those same white progressives that want to tweet Black Lives Matter, thinking that they understand minorities. So that's the funniest thing is they want to be the ones that are like, oh no, we care about Latinos and Hispanics, but then literally would like shit on these people in media. So South Texas to me is very interesting, and we'll kind of see what happens if those trends continue forward for the Republican Party.
Where do you go next? What else are you working on besides the border?
So right now we are in communication with multiple communities in Ohio and Indiana, and we want to go deep into the fentanyl crisis.
We had Dominic Tierno on the show. Holy shit!
He's awesome. Yeah,
holy cow, he's amazing.
Yeah, when I met him, I was like, bro, you got to go on my man's podcast. He's great and
he's amazing.
He's super busy, but I'm glad you guys also made that one happen.
The movie rocked me, dude.
Yeah.
This movie and his other one, Life of. He has another movie out. I watched both of them.
Dude, that movie is so powerful, and like I'm glad he made it like for schools and for people to view it. I remember the scene that got me was you had this dad talking about his daughter overdosing, and then when he mentions that he's like a cop, and I was like, oh my god, like even happened to him where someone who was like just on top of it. And it's
movie too. Knox's story. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Really, people, just take 20 minutes and watch it. If you have kids, you have to watch this. If you do drugs, you have to watch this.
Yeah.
Basically, the message of the movie is you just can't do drugs anymore, and the reason why is not because you'll get addicted, but because you're gonna die.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people, it seems like, who are dying from fentanyl, they weren't even trying to do fentanyl. That's what's fucking crazy. Imagine drinking a soda pop and then there was fentanyl in it and you died.
Look, I'm 27 years old, so like back in my high school time, like I was in high school like 10 years ago. When I was in high school, it was still the era where you could pop and take anything, right? Like a kid's like, hey, take an ecstasy, take this. Yeah, I don't care. You would take care. That era is done.
Yeah.
Because now almost all that stuff is mixed with fentanyl. Like you were saying, all these overdoses are people that thought they were taking a Vicodin, that we're looking for this hardcore drug. And it's in everything. And so the next thing that I'll be kind of trying to dabble my reporting in is we want to go into Indiana, Ohio. These are overwhelmingly white, working class, blue collar towns that have been destroyed by fentanyl. So we're hoping to do some deep stories, some human stories out of there. That's my next big focus. Obviously, you always kind of keep an eye on the border as doing that, because if something something breaks their news, we'll be there. But my main thing is highlighting these human stories. I would like to tell more kind of the powerful human stories this year, so we'll be focused on that. I'm still going to be focused on the illegal marijuana grow operation. With the more reporting I do, I get more information about it. I actually have more people reach out to me. So an area that I'm hoping to get to is South Oregon. South Oregon right now is experiencing a huge explosion in illegal marijuana grows connected to
Where,
Mexican
what city in
cartels.
South Oregon? You're talking like Ashland, Oregon?
I think so. I've never been, but I've been getting emailed by residents in South Oregon who are telling me, you have to come here. You have to come here. It's horrible down here. So there's a connection with, I believe, South Oregon, and then Northern California. You have a lot of the same folks working in Northern California traveling to South Oregon. There's a huge Mexican cartel issue. So I'm hoping to get there and, just hit the ground. And
Ashland or Medford. That would be crazy if those places got overrun, because those are massive Democrat havens. You know what I mean? That's
Medford.
where liberals. Yeah, that's where liberals go. Old liberals go to die. I mean, that is, they have the Shakespearean festival there. That is like, that's their stronghold. That's like Oregon's, Berkeley. That's where they get to put the BLM sign up, but they would never allow a black person to live in the town.
Yeah.
No shit. I mean, I wish I was joking, but
no, you're 100% right.
No, you're right, dude. That's the best. The fake register. So yeah,
that is. By the way, that's the systemic racism. By the way, we all know. First we thought there was no systemic racism. Now we know that there is, and the systemic racism is telling people that there's systemic racism. That's the foundation. It's a very clever trick. It's a very, very clever trick.
Yes, I'm hoping to go to South Oregon. So if anyone who is listening to this podcast and you're from South Oregon, message me, help me out here, and we'll kind of see what happens. And as always, guys, I'm always going to be on the ground for anything super breaking news, right? So like anything could happen. That's kind of the name. That's kind of the game of news. So anything can happen. This year, though, I'm hoping to go more international. So hopefully going to different countries. Different borders to kind of see what's going on and continue to get better, learning all that good stuff. And continue developing.
Do you know this guy? His name's Tommy G. He's on YouTube. Have you heard of this guy?
That sounds very familiar. Very familiar.
He'd be a great.
Caleb, I'll drop you a link in the chat. Check out this guy's. This guy was on the show. You already beat me to it. This guy was on the show, and there is a story here where he goes to a town in Philadelphia called.
Oh, I already know. It's called Kensington Beach. Has to be.
No. What was the name of the town?
How about the Kia Boys?
No, not the Kia Boys ones. This was Where was the town? Oh, Kensington. Kensington,
yeah.
the city of zombies.
Yep, Kensington Beach, they call it.
Oh, Kensington Beach. Okay. Yep. Please watch that. And he is a great guy. You would love him.
Mm-hmm.
And his story. So this video starts with like, hey, maybe we'll see some people shooting in public. The whole town is littered with people shooting drugs in public. And literally in the first 30 seconds, he walks up and someone has to get Narcaned.
He's like, look, she's got her pipe in the hand right there.
Yeah. And this guy, you would love this guy, Jorge. He's cut from the same cloth as you. What's really cool about him too is he's just this white kid, and he goes to fucking places where like no white people fucking travel, right? And it's really great. And if you and he would love to hear from you, and I can make the introduction. I feel like I owe you something for introducing me to Dominic Tierno. But this guy's great. And this guy lives for this stuff. This is what he wants to do. He just makes these really short documentaries, but dude, they're so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the other one, the most dangerous, if you want to see another crazy one, it's called The Most Dangerous City in America. And he's basically just hanging out in the middle of the street with these like 13 kids, and each of them has a Gucci bag, a machine gun, and then a gun in their Gucci bag. And they're just in a neighborhood. Like they hang out there for hours. 17. No cops come, nothing, dude.
Dude, welcome to America, dude. I mean,
yeah, it is nuts.
Hey, I would love.
It's right up your alley. It's right up your alley.
Yeah,
it's insane, bro. We got to this point in America where we literally look like third world cities. Cities. It's a disaster. Yeah, dude, I would love to connect with them. Yeah, Kensington Beach is a gnarly place.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for always returning my text. I know you are crazy busy. Congratulations on all of the success. I see you on TV all the time. It's I smile so big when I see you on Tucker and the Daily Caller or any of these new shows.
When my dad knew who you were, I was stoked.
Yeah,
Let's go, dude.
Yeah.
No
you're making us. I'm so proud to know you, dude. So thank you for everything you do, and thanks for always being available to us.
Yeah, your work is
man.
so
Hey,
important.
appreciate you guys having me on, man. And I'll keep you guys in the know of any big projects that we work on this year. Man, I gotta come up and see you guys, dude. I need a CrossFit workout, dude. That's what I need.
Anytime. Hey, you can come stay if you're ever in Santa Cruz, you're welcome to stay with me. We got an extra bedroom. You're always welcome.
Dude, come to my gym.
Awesome. Hey, appreciate it, guys.
Bring your mask. Bring your mask and your Vax ID. Proof of Vax ID.
Coffee, hit the gym, get it in. You too.
Now let's do it.
All the good
Awesome.
stuff.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. Cheers, brother. Have a good day. Happy New Year.
Man, people like him are so important right now. It's insane. The importance of what he's doing and his motivation to continue to cover this and go to those places and do these stories is, I don't think we realize the debt that we actually owe Jorge and people like him for doing what he's doing. Because if it wasn't for him going out there and doing it and putting these stories in the face, and we were just only subject to the stuff that the corporate media is shoving down our throats, we would have no idea about the extent of what's happening on our borders and these other crises that are popping up with the illegal marijuana grows, and when Florida was didn't have any water and shit like that. He's
technology too. It's cool that the technology that people like, him and Tommy G can just put shit together and
it's incredible. I actually think that's what's ushering in all this craziness is the technology, this big Playplonic. I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but there's this massive shift that's happening, and there's a massive shift that's happening in control of power because it's being decentralized. And so the system and the powers to be as it is right now are in a complete scramble to keep everything together.
Trish, good God, the amount of hand wringing, and I had to look up what that meant. Clasping together and squeezing of one's hands, especially when distressed or worried. Excessive display of concern or distress. So he's saying America has always had horrid poverty and violent areas. Okay, that's good. People, it's not as bad as you think. Everything's fine. Chill out. It's always been here for 100 years. Don't worry. Just because Jorge stumbled across it for the first time in his life doesn't mean it's always been here. Just chill. The problem is this. I was raised in the Bay Area, and I traveled to filming in 100 countries, and I saw stuff in those countries that I couldn't even fucking believe. One of the things was just tent cities. I'd never seen a tent city. I mean, I'd heard about them in the Southern California deserts and abandoned naval stations. What's that called? Like Salton Sea shit. But now, if you go to Berkeley or Portland, you can actually see tent cities just right in the fucking next to bougie $5 million homes. And so something has changed.
Have you been you haven't been to Oakland lately, have you? Like West
Oakland? But I've seen the footage. I've driven through whole tent towns there. I've driven through 6 blocks of tent towns there.
Tent towns, that's like child's play. You should see now they got
motor hometowns.
Oh man, and it's all built up to where they're taking all this scrap plywood and stuff and building out so much that it's like a whole entire compound. And they got fucking front doors, and you'll see even some of them got routers for internet.
Oh yeah.
It's
crazy.
Insane, dude.
I'm gonna look up Oakland homeless and see
West Oakland, yeah, especially right under that 880 as it's going into the city, into San Francisco. And the crazy part is I've spent time on those railroad tracks, different story, but it's complete. Like back then, you thought it was kind of like bad and grimy, and now it's unfathomable.
One of these days, one of these things is gonna burn down.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that there's fires like that happen all the time. I mean, they run them in Hayward and shit, where it's just a small little, brush fire that's starting to pick up because you realize that inside that bush on the side of the road on the freeway, there was like 4 or 5 tents that were there.
Yeah,
dude, you can just roll from 580 down and you'll see it. You could go to 880 as soon as you get into like Castro Valley area. And I mean, even here in Livermore, they pushed a lot of them out over by the gym where I live and stuff like that. I mean, a year ago, I went down there and was like filming all the stuff that they have. And right across the parking lot is a Home Depot and a Walmart. So they were just blatantly walking in there, stealing enough power tools, propane, whatever they could get their hands on that wasn't locked up. And then just walking out of the store as long as it was under $1,000 And what ended up happening is that parking lot is part of Livermore. But as soon as you jump over this small little curb and you go into where this valley is right before the freeway, they go, oh, that's out of our jurisdiction. That's actually Caltrans. That's
they did that in Berkeley too, where the freeway runs through. The homeless would congregate by the hundreds and hundreds, and set up tent cities, and they would say it's Caltrans.
Yeah, the city just washes his hand. Oh, we're concerned with it too, but unfortunately, there's nothing we could do about it legally because it's Caltrans, and then Caltrans just says, "Oh, well, we don't have the resources and equipment."
They don't got that shit under the freeway in Los Gatos. You know?
Yeah.
Los Gatos is a very wealthy neighborhood just right over the hill from us. Like, how come the wealthy cities have figured it out?
Yeah, why isn't Tent City in front of Meta over there in Menlo
Right.
Park?
Right.
You know, you don't see it out in front of YouTube headquarters.
Right.
We don't see it in front of Apple, the Infinity Loop, the fucking $2 billion campus they built that it's all glass circle.
Someone asked, what was your favorite show of 2022?
Oh, that's nice.
I don't know what my favorite was, but the one that popped up right away in my head was the show that I did with Kim, the blind CrossFit chick.
Oh, that was a great show.
Yeah, that one fucking rocked me. She took me out. That one worked me. I don't know. I don't remember if it was in 2022, but I always think back to that Kayla Harrison interview. I really like that. I like any of the whole I'm really proud of the affiliate series.
Yeah.
I love how on a lighter note, I love the last time Rich was on, I was tickled. I always like having Rich on. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
There's so many, man, it's been a crazy year. It's been fun. Jethro Cardona, thanks, Sevan, Souza, Caleb, Brian Friend, Hiller, J.R. Taylor, Tyler Watkins, John Young, all the guests, Sarah Cox. Yeah, definitely Sarah Cox.
Definitely Sarah Cox.
California Hormones. Travis, Gabe, and the whole live chat for a great year of content and laughs, some tears.
Yeah. My favorite part about this show just has to be the community of the people in the chat. Super awesome.
It's crazy. So that's by the way, so that was it last night too. I thought, oh shit, this sucks. If I don't come on the show and someone wants to just hang for the night, or you know what I mean? Like someone's just like cooking dinner or just driving on a long drive and I cancel the show, they get kind of fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked Andrew if he would get on, and Souza quickly got him the admin code. And that was really cool that Hiller did that.
Yeah, I think we got to trim the first like 40 seconds out of that show too. Did you watch the very beginning?
No, oh yeah, what was that? It was like a CD was skipping.
It was actually my voice, and it glitched because Hiller and I were on the back end. I got him all set up. He switched out. I was like, okay, you ready? He goes, yeah, you do it. Hit the button, take us live. So I said, okay. And then I clicked it, and he goes, and after I clicked it live, he goes, well, where are you at? And I go, I'm at a brewery called the Altamont, and then it just kept going Altamont.
Oh.
Like the first 30 seconds, to where I was like, I couldn't hear anything because I could just hear that. It's like, what the hell? So I got out of it thinking that I just had a bad connection inside that brewery, but I didn't realize that was actually some sort of glitch that was playing through the show the whole time. So for the first 30 seconds, we gotta trim that because you can't even hear Hiller and Alexis.
It was weird being in the chat. I liked it. Excuse me. It was addicting as shit. It was so addicting.
Yeah, it was funny because I jumped back on. Did you see the part where when I was dropping people off, I jumped back on when I was in the car real quick just to check on it and see how they were going and chatted with them on the show for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Did you catch that portion?
Yeah. That was
cool. It was funny because after that, we're at the house that we're at Grace's sister's house, and all of a sudden I hear Hiller, and I look over. And she's got her phone, and she goes, these people in the chat are hilarious. And I'm like, you're still watching it? She would have reamed me if I was on my phone watching the fucking. And I'm like, oh, you get to do it. She goes, oh, yeah, well, the people in here, they're funny. They're making a bunch of funny comments. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. And she's just reading the comments and watching the show.
Did you just go over there and trim it? Is that what I saw you doing, Caleb?
I was about to, but I was working on something else.
Oh, I can trim it too after the show. Easy peasy. Victor Brown. Happy New Year, fellas. Oh, thanks, dude. $20. Looking forward to a great 2023 full of awesome podcasts and live call-ins. You guys are the best. God bless. We have been just bombing people I want to get ahead of this a little bit
It's
to
crazy.
come on for Wadapalooza. It is significantly harder getting female guests on. You have to know that it is significant
way.
for some reason. I don't. But we're trying. We have a lot of athletes lined up. And I did hear back from Paige Powers. I've never interviewed her, so I'm really excited about that. And
Cool.
Don't get me wrong, we'll have a lot of female guests, but it is interesting that it is so much more difficult to get female athletes on. And we have a ton of people we've reached out to. Just right off the bat, I remember Patrick Vellner responded, Sam Dancer responded, Enola Kai responded. It's Travis Mayer responded.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of another one.
I don't know how many of them you want to give
Oh.
away. I could start rattling them all off, but
Olivia Kerstetter responded.
yeah,
Did we get her set up for January 3rd?
I just gotta
Okay.
we gotta just confirm and
Rich responded. Did Samuel Conway, did he respond?
not yet.
Samuel. Did Guy respond?
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, you know how it is, and it was funny because
I do know.
Grace saw it and she's like, "What? Why would you guys do that? That's so many people." I'm like, "Hey, you just got to cast a huge net because if you the bigger the net you cast, like if they, if it all works out, but they're changing and traveling and training, and we're trying to align times and all this stuff." Cole Mertens, yep. Don't worry.
Colton Mertens, yes. Colton Mertens responded. Colton's coming on. Tomorrow we have Patrick DeGode on. I think this is part of the affiliate series. I think his affiliate is somewhere trippy. Like Madagascar or South Africa or
Mhm.
something. So,
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I have to look it up, but yeah.
so that'll be a fun podcast tomorrow. And then it's really going to just start picking up. It looks like there could be 2-3 podcasts a day. Yeah, I am really excited to meet Paige.
Damascus.
I was really impressed by her performance this last year. Yeah, probably Dick Mertens might call in, Colton's dad.
You know, it's one. I have a question for the people in the chat. Would it?
Oh, Danielle Brandon. We got her. I don't even think she's at Wadapalooza, but it sounds like Danielle Brandon's gonna.
I feel like she'll hang out on Wadapalooza. Maybe we'll get her to hang
Yeah.
out with me for a little bit.
Yeah.
Dallin
Dallin
Fuck, I
Pepper.
lost my train of thought now.
Uh,
Oh, I was going to ask the people in the chat because I've seen a lot of these comments of people who are normally in the chat, and they were saying that they're too nervous or afraid to call in. And I'm wondering if maybe we just gave some sort of theme that they call in on. So when we go, whatever it is, we're like, hey guys, if you have a question about this or that and help to guide a little bit, would it make it more comfortable for you to call so you're not all nervous about it? So it's not open-ended, basically. Like we frame the call for you. So we're like, okay, so blah, blah, blah. If you guys have an opinion on Caleb's hat or Sevan's sweatshirt, we're going to be talking about these two things. We run the clips. Go ahead and call in and give us your opinion on those two things. I don't know. I'm just throwing shot there, trying to get the calls going.
Yeah. Have
Trying
you
to get the calls
ever
going.
have you ever seen a grown man pee in public? Tell us your favorite.
Please call in
pee.
with
the
your
other day.
question and story. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell
Feet
us
on
your-
truck.
Oh, here we go with Trish the Buddhist. Existence is suffering. Suffering has a cause. That cause is attachment. There is a cessation of the suffering. There is a path to that cessation.
Deep, Trish.
Existence is suffering. Thank you. $4.99. I like
Yeah.
that.
Or the affiliate questions. Yeah. We could do stuff like that later too.
So I bet you, I wonder sometimes if Trish is my alter ego, a mix of comedy and
Like deep thought.
more comedy.
And drama.
I just want to know what Trish
dirty
really
Ann.
looks like.
You know you don't.
You kind of
Eric-
ruined it, I think.
Eric Wise, $20. Happy New Year, boys. This community has become something I look forward every day and appreciate you all. Really looking forward to 2023. Cheers. Thanks, dude. Me too.
Thanks, Eric.
How cool is it that this is happening? How cool is it that I get to be like the what's the kid who like tells on the other kids in the hall at school? The
Hall monitor?
Yeah. I've never been a hall monitor. I fucking would never get it. And now I get to be a hall monitor. Fuck all y'all.
It
I'm
seems
the
like
kid I'm the kid who holds the stop sign up so the other kids can cross the street. Yeah, I'll tell you when you can go.
I didn't necessarily mean it like really Caleb's hat, Heidi. Come on. This only example I
say?
can pull out.
You can say Heidi.
Caleb probably paid an extra $15 to get that tear in the front.
No, that looks like just a working man's hat. Like he just had that hat. I mean, look, it's got like the weird sweat glaze over the top where it's yeah.
So I had a hat before this. It was exactly the same, except the W was like an American flag. And I wore that thing for probably 6 or 7 years. And I had it when I had met my wife. And I was like, yeah, it used to be like, it's always been a gray hat. She goes, no, it's the Navy hat. And now it's gray. I was like, no way. She went back and found a picture and it was blue. And then I wore that hat so much that like the whole thing was like ripped apart. And then one year I was like, I'm not getting rid of this hat. And then one year for Christmas or my birthday or something, my wife got me another one. She goes, you need to throw that away. So now I have this one.
She picked it up with like a set of tongs and like threw it out for you and gave you a new one.
Hazardous waste would have been the red bag. Yeah.
Hey, I want to throw this I'm erasing some of my notes that for some reason are still on here. But one of the things I forgot to mention the other day when I mentioned the story that Nancy Pelosi came into office in 2008 with $30 million, a net worth of $30 million. And then now she's worth $171 million. I wanted to also mention that I believe that Donald Trump is the only president in U.S. history whose net worth dropped while he was in office.
Yeah, didn't he have to get rid of a bunch of assets or something?
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Well, it's just coming out. It's funny if you listen to the left talk about a taxes being released, you hear one thing, you hear it spun one way, and if you listen to the right news talk about it, it's talked about in another way. The left will never mention, like they just talk about how much money he has and how little taxes he paid, but they don't mention how much money he fucking lost in those years, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's so bullshit.
So it's just I guess it's just how you spin it. We talked about polar bears, right?
Yeah.
1950 there were 10,000 polar bears. Now there's 30,000 polar bears. What about
because
climate
we're not hunting
change?
them anymore.
Yeah, and yeah, but yet they're the poster child for climate change.
And Coke.
And just as a heads up, I got to jump off here in a couple of minutes.
Okay. We played that. We showed the video of the girl putting her hand in her pants and then licking her finger.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was weird.
Is that we showed how good Matt Fraser looks with his
Yes.
open?
Did you see the other one though? I said he kind of looked like he was getting a little fluffy.
I don't know.
I think he was trying to get fluffy for a while. He was like trying to get like a 500-pound deadlift or something, or like something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But he was just trying to get really strong.
And I mean that for like Fraser, because obviously that dude's just gonna be a specimen of physicality for his lifetime. But
He's a thick old boy.
yeah, but for Fraser,
Hey, there is going to become a time where we're going to see that. You know how like you'll see like these professional fighters, like you see Riddick Bowe now, the guy who beat Mike Tyson, and maybe he's dead even now, but like he put on 200 pounds. Like one day we're going to see like a picture of Travis Mayer, and he's just going to be like sitting in a fucking on a John Deere tractor, 150 pounds overweight.
just a big old gut, right?
Oh man, my notes are so fucked up for some reason. God damn it. I'm gonna have to fix all these before our next call and show. Okay, let's finish with 284, Bill Maher, and then we will retire for the day.
Can't wait for 277 to come up.
Let me see. Wait, hold on. Maybe we can do 277.
No. We're not doing that.
Oh yeah. That's a whole show. You're right. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Presentism, which means judging everyone in the past by the standards of the present. It's the belief that people who lived 100 or 500 or 1,000 years ago really should have known better, which is so stupid. It's like getting mad at yourself for not knowing what you know now when you were 10. Stupid me, spending all that time raising sea monkeys, jerking off to a Playboy in the barn. Who doesn't have moments from your past that make you cringe? Who hasn't said, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I wore that. I can't believe I thought that. I can't believe I did that. You ate dirt. You wanted to be a Ghostbuster. You shoplifted gum. You tried to be a white breakdancer. Yes, because we hadn't then grown into the persons we would become. And humanity writ large is just the collective version of that. Did Columbus commit atrocities? Of course. But people back then were generally atrocious. Everybody who could afford one had a slave, including people of color, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, Romans, the Arabs, British, the early Americans. The Holy Bible is practically an owner's manual for slaveholders. The word slave comes from Slav, because so many Slavic people were enslaved, and they're as white as the Hallmark Channel. Who do you think gathered the slaves from the interior of Africa to sell to slave traders? Africans, who also kept their own slaves. We're a species prone to making others of our species our bitch. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Humans are not good people. That's the truth, even though it doesn't jibe with the current narrative. But in today's world, when truth conflicts with narrative, it's the truth that has to apologize. Present.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Enjoy. Play with your kids. Love someone. Make sure you love someone. God, make sure you love someone. It's so important to express love. All right, guys. See you later. Caleb, thank you. Sousa, thank you. Jorge Ventura, go ahead and drop a couple bucks to Jorge. You guys are great.
Please do, yeah.